Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now today is a day to rejoice, or yesterday I should say was a day to rejoice, because Tesla actually made a nice tweet about the RDW process, where it's the first time that they are actually opening up the information that is available or was not available to us. And it's the first time that they are actively sharing this information. Now, lately I've been in a group with several regulation experts and Tesla people that are like-minded into the regulations, wanting to bring FSD closer, and we have been really active on all kinds of social media, also reaching out to people at Tesla as well as the governments. And it seems that Tesla has finally listened and opened up on this information, which is great. So they actually shared that the RDW has committed to granting the Netherlands national approval in February 2026. So yeah, this is great news. And the problem with this great news is that it is not yet 100% certain. A lot of people are taking this for granted, and I agree to the sense that it is the first time that we get this kind of information, this concrete kind of information, that we have reasons to be excited. There's light at the end of this very long tunnel to get FSD in Europe. But we have to be careful to not be overreacting to the fact that it might still be blown off. And I will come to that in just a bit, why that could still be the case. Now, something we have to talk about is Article 39. So this is the exception procedure that allows manufacturers to grant or to request an EU type approval for systems that are not compliant with the current EU regulations or the UNECE regulations that are then taken into the EU. This allows a backdoor for Tesla. We have been thinking and kind of knowing that this is the way that Tesla is doing things, by having tweets from Elon or having some other tweets that mention the RDW from Tesla accounts, but nothing as concrete as this one. So we never knew a timeline up until now. And I think it's great that Tesla has been sharing this information. So Tesla guys, if you're watching, thank you very much for this information. Now, what does Article 39 actually say? Well, it says that pending adoption for continuous adoption throughout DEC, approval authorities may grant a provisional EU type approval, valid only in the territory of the member state of that approval authority. So this is exactly what is happening, and why Tesla is saying there will be national approval for the Netherlands. And this is what we have to deal with at the moment, in the sense that this is the first step. So the RDW is the European homologation company or it's the Dutch homologation company that does all the homologations for Europe. So it's logical that Tesla would take this route and apply it to the same principles. Get it through the RDW, the rest will hopefully follow at that point. But again, if the RDW is approving this, then it does say that it is going to be a type approval for that member state in itself. Now, the approval authority, RDW, shall inform the Commission and the other member states thereof without delay. So that means as soon as it is approved, then every other country will get some kind of notification saying, hey, we approve this. If you want, you can follow. So two parts that are going on here. So first there's the Dutch approval. As soon as it is approved, other member states can say, well, RDW does the homologation for everything else, so we agree with them and we trust them. So we are going to accept that same exception as an individual country, and we allow it. Whether or not this is going to happen is a big question. It is going to depend on how risk averse the government is at this point. The second thing that is going to happen is that there are possible limitations attached to this. So it's not all roses on this front. Hopefully it is, but potentially, and we have to keep this in mind, there might be some restrictions. Restrictions in the number of vehicles that are allowed. So for example, only 500 vehicles per country, or only the vehicles produced after 2025. Something like that could be possible. I think there might be a possibility that they say, well, only for hardware 4 vehicles. I don't know. I'm just saying, don't panic yet. Could be for hardware 3 as well. This is just a guess, but it could be. Let's hope not. In any case, if they do the type approval, it is valid for 36 months. So that's 3 years. The reason why they do that, well, again, rapid progressing technology, they want to already allow it on the road while the regulations catch up. So that is, great that the possibility is there. And that's why we can say, okay, if FSD is coming to the Netherlands, is going to stay there probably for 3 years at least. And then it might be revoked, it might be extended. I'll come back to that later on. But it's 3 years that is going to be there, and that's awesome already. Let's hope the other countries will automatically follow and have the same regulation timeframe. The downside is also that the European Commission can also decide, we don't agree with this. That's the worst case that can happen, because then it is allowed, but after 6 months, the latest, it has to be revoked again. And that will lead to a lot of angry customers, yours truly included. It is not a very likely possibility for me because, well, let's face it, the RDW does the entire homologation anyway. So in essence, there is no real problem not trusting them. But yeah, if the EC, if a lot of member states are against it, a majority vote might rule it out maybe at EC level. Let's hope this does not happen. But again, it's something that we have to keep in mind that could happen. Now, if you move on to the next article, as Article 40, and Article 40 is automatically invoked when Article 39 is approved. And that means that Article 40 says it shall immediately take the necessary steps to adapt the regulatory acts. And the paragraph below specifically states the UN regulations. So that means that as soon as Article 39 is accepted, the EC will then push whatever has been accepted into the UNECE regulations, into probably the R171 at this point, to adapt it to comply with whatever Tesla is providing as capabilities, and make sure that this is now a UNECE regulation at that point and no longer a specific EU regulation. Because that's another point that I need to address, of course. This is an EU regulation, which means it leaves a lot of questions. What will happen in Switzerland? What will happen in the UK now they have left the EU? Or what will happen in Norway, for example? They might be able to choose on their own to adapt the same principles, or they just stay, as Switzerland would say, they stay neutral. They don't adopt the principles, and it will not be allowed there until the UNECE actually allows it. Another point is that once the relevant regulatory acts have been amended, any restriction on the implementation acts referred to in Article 39 shall be lifted. So once it is a general regulation, at that point, there are no restrictions in the number of vehicles, and the restriction for the 36 months is also automatically lifted, of course, because it is now no longer an exception. It is the standard at this point. So that would be the best case scenario. Have the RDW approve it in the Netherlands, move it to the EC, maybe in a couple of months, by summer the latest, it would automatically be a standard in the EU, and then every country can have it rolled out, or Tesla can roll it out in every country without needing country-specific approvals at that point. Now, as I mentioned before, so if those necessary steps are not done within the type approval timeline, those 36 months, the EC can then also decide that it extends it by another 36 months. So if after 3 years, let's assume the UNECE is so slow, even more slow than they are today, that the R171 is not adapted to the new situation within the next 3 years, it is still possible that the exception can be extended for another 3 years. So that would mean that within the EU, it would still be possible to continue to use FSD, but the other UNECE countries that are outside of the EU, they can still not use this system because it's not a UNECE regulation at that point, but just an EU exception. So yeah, something to keep in mind as well. Before we move further, if you like these videos, please help me share this knowledge. I'm usually not the first one to put out a video on some kind of hype. I try to not ride the hype train in itself. I want to share the correct information with you. You guys know me by now, so help me spread the correct information, and please share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much. Now let's continue with Article 83. Article 83 is also coming into play in conjunction with Article 39, in the sense that at European level, the TCMV, which stands for the Technical Committee on Motor Vehicles, they advise the EU regulators on the technical implementation of these kinds of systems. Now, if they deliver no verdict or opinion on the system, then the EC will not adopt the Draft Implementation Act. So that means that the timeline starts to shift. The exception for the single country and the other countries that accept that same exception, that still remains, but it's not going to be an automated process to get everyone in the EU, every country in the EU, to be allowed to use FSD without that specific country approval. So yeah, they play a part in this as well. So we hope that once the RDW approves it, the TCMV will also give their stamp of approval on this system. Now there are a few caveats, as I mentioned before. It's not all roses, as I said. There are two things that are important when Tesla mentioned this tweet. So first of all, the first yellow border here, while we have changed FSD to be maximally compliant, where it is logical and reasonable, we won't sacrifice the safety of a proven system or materially deteriorate customer usability. For me, this confirms what I have suspected for a very long time, and that means that Tesla is either going for FSD the way they have it now in the US, or they are not going for it. So there will be no specific FSD version for Europe with all kinds of UNECE regulations and flags in it. They don't seem that feasible, and they don't want to invest in that, which from some point I can understand. But yeah, if this keeps going on, we are really left behind in basic autopilot functionality, which is hardly usable anymore, especially with the vision system being quite bad on autopilot cars. FSD US probably really good, but in my case, I get a lot of errors. Maybe it's a hardware tree issue as well, I don't know, but we'll see about that. The second thing that they mention here is, as a result, we are gathering evidence to get exemptions on a specific rule-by-rule basis. Unfortunately, the real-world fleet-proven safety wins alone are considered insufficient. This means that they have not yet provided all the required data to the RDW. That is why I say it's not 100% sure that this is a done deal. Again, 95%? Probably. And I'm quite confident that Tesla can actually provide enough data to get the RDW to get all the proof that they need based on two things. Either they send out their drivers finding real world data on very specific edge cases, or as Elon mentioned before, or Lars, I can't remember who did it, they have a huge simulation capability where they can create their own virtual world and can train the system or can show what the system would do in this specific case. I think that's a huge benefit that Tesla currently has that allows them to basically create any situation that is needed for the regulators and show them how FSD would handle that. So I hope they're using that route, and I hope the RDW is actually accepting that route as well, because what more can you need, right? So that's the news I had to tell you. It's really great. I'm really happy with this all going on. Actually, I'm so happy and quite confident, so confident that I actually ordered a new car to be on hardware 4, to be one of the first that will hopefully get FSD beta. And yeah, let's hope my gamble here is going to pay off in the next couple of months, because in essence what it's going to do is, according to my opinion, we had some news about the new message that if you come to a border that FSD might not work. This ties perfectly into the whole Netherlands versus the rest of Europe, or country per country. If you cross into Belgium, Belgium has not accepted it. Hey, watch out, FSD will not work past this border. It ties perfectly into this whole system. So maybe, fingers crossed, this will happen. And if it's geofenced, it would mean that everyone driving in the Netherlands would be able to use it in the Netherlands, but not in their own country. So my car, even if it's a Belgian car, would be able to use it in the Netherlands. That's the way I think about it. That's the way I think they're going to implement it. I hope I'm right. Otherwise, it was quite expensive. So thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.